Are you ready?
Welcome to the Circle of Gratitude. Welcome to my brothers up here, Brother Strick, Brother Chris.
What's up? What's up?
I want to welcome you, brothers, all as always, man. We welcome y'all, man. I hope everything is all well.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Good deal.
How's everything on y'all end?
Oh, is everything wonderful, brother? Everything
That's
wonderful.
good, brother. That's good.
I ain't got no complaints, bro. We still here, man, by the grace of our Lord, bro.
They ain't learned that by the grace of God. Yep.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, man. So I just want to welcome everybody to chat. I want to shout out to Frank and Johnny, Brother Michael, and in the chat holding it down. I appreciate y'all coming in and sharing with us. So we really didn't have a really a major topic or whatever, but I know something that came across my mind that and I think a few of us probably can agree with about some as in some parts of parenting. I don't question anybody's parenting, but it's just some things that we have to understand that we have to get our children prepared for the world.
Mm-hmm.
And some things like that, and where I'm going with that is because I see some parents begin to try to be their kids' friends versus their parent. That has been a real bad subject. I mean, a subject that has been brought up, and I've experienced it before. My boy, big brother right here, he experienced it also. And then I think a lot of times what it happens is a lot of times they try to, that's what sometimes I believe that would make some of these children feel like they're entitled in certain ways, you know. And it causes problems and, you know, causes problems in their life. So like I said, we have to prepare them for life. We can't sugarcoat it and think everything is the only way in our household and not prepare them for what life is really about. You know, get them ready for reality. Yeah. So I mean, you know, I've experienced it myself. You know, where you know, when you're not together anymore, or even if you're together, you know, one parent is better than the other, or one parent think they're doing better parenting than one another. You know what I mean? Instead of us being on the same page. And I see that causes problems, that cause conflict, and then it really destroys our children in the long run. You know, so we have to
love, I believe, too.
I'm sorry?
I believe sometimes it's in the process of competing for love, wanting your child to love you more.
I would agree with you. Yeah, go ahead and elaborate on that, brother. I like to hear that. Go ahead, bro.
I just think that sometimes takes it, because every situation is different. But the reality is that when you wind up being more of a friend than a parent, and you're competing for love, you do things in order to ensure that the child is affectionately geared towards you. And you think that's building trust, but what it's doing is it's enabling your child. You're making it hard for your child to recognize what reality is in regards to, you can't just, you know, we live in a very instant world. Everything is right here, right now. You know, even the internet. But when you, as a parent, when you call a child and give them everything on demand or without earning, seeing a kid walking around with $200-$300 sleepings, you know, he ain't got a job, man. He ain't got a job. You know, that's a problem. You know, when you're out there spending, you know, $1,000 on a game, or, you know, I mean, there are things that just shouldn't be done without for the benefit of earning things. You know what I mean?
Right.
We had to earn. Look, I remember going to McDonald's and it being a treat, my friend.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, you ain't lying about that.
Man, I see kids nowadays that order food and order out and got all of this adult access with child mentality. They have adult beliefs and feelings with child maturity levels. And we put that in them. We give them phones, and if they're 5 and 6 years old, they got phones. They got that. They got the laptop. They got, and it becomes, the computer is the new babysitter of the television that we were. We grew up in a television age where, you could be a television baby, put you in front of the TV and you good.
Yeah.
Now it's put them in front of a computer, but the computer has the unlimited and unfiltered access.
Yes.
So when you do that, man, it snowballs. It's that belief that, that freedom, that, the ability to do what you are doing as a child, which you should be an adult doing that, making these decisions, not a child.
Right. I would agree. I definitely agree, man. Yeah, and that becomes a major problem throughout. Like I said, we're looking long-term effect that it plays, man. Because, like I said, so if they think that's why I said that goes back into that entitlement thing, and which I think I believe some of the generations are at that age they feel like they're entitled for what reason I don't know, but. We, like you said, once again, to piggyback on what you were saying, that we had to earn our stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, things were privileges. It was earned. And I think when you get to a point where your child feel that they don't have to earn anything, then how do they know how to even earn and to even hold? I mean, let's say it's a job or even going to school. Hell, for
I mean. You just don't, they get participation rewards nowadays. You're getting rewarded for everything. Just no matter what happens, you get what you want, and that's just bad.
Yeah,
man.
But it's showing in today's society, though, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's really showing how. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not debating anybody's parenting skill. I'm not, because everybody parenting is different. You know what I'm saying? But if we were raised on more of old school values of a lot of things, so it made us, I believe, what made us the men we are today. Because of my mom, like I said, she would joke, my dad would joke, but when it comes down to something, we knew when and where to joke, and we wasn't gonna take it to a certain extent either. You know what I'm saying? You ain't finna be playing them games and sit there and be like, oh yeah, and like I was out at one point. Where I see the women, a daughter and mom calling each other B's and H's. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I didn't get that. You know what I'm saying? And I thought that was quite disrespectful. But it's just like certain aspects of when you were like, if you were a drinker or you wanted to drink. I didn't drink around my mom till I was much older. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't know 20, 21 years old and say, okay, well, come on, let's go have a drink. No. Or I'm not going to go to the club with my child. I'm not going to do these type of things. You know what I mean? It's just certain things. And that's why I say it comes back to being a parent being their child's friend versus their parent. You know what I mean? So would you like to, anybody, Chris D, would y'all like to elaborate on that, man?
Yeah, I agree. There's certain things I wouldn't do with my child either. Like go to the club or, just setting up, having drinks, maybe a little celebration or something like that here and there, to celebrate something new.
I remember, I remember an incident myself. I was 30-something years old, and my father said to me, "Hey, man, come here for a second." We was at a wedding. He said, "I want to do something." I went to the bar, and he bought me a drink. I was 30-something years old. First time my dad ever bought me a drink, and I remember it to this day.
See, stuff like that you remember and you hold on to, man. Like, yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the thing that you value. But it's valuable. But then the point about it is I mean, that's why I said I wouldn't do it with my child. You know what I mean? And I just see with some today's society, I don't know what it is, because why they do the things they do sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, and it's not always, like you said, Strick, once before. It's not always the parents' fault, because they get out here and they learn from the streets, or they learn from the internet, or they learn from other things. So to me, you know, it's not always the parent fault, but I just know I've seen those parents that have been trying to be their friend, their children's friend, versus being their parent. Now, I'm not saying you gotta be this hard up parent, or you gotta be, because honestly, sometimes you have to build, you know, you still have to, at the end of the day, especially when they get a certain age, you still have to build that relationship, because you want them to trust in you and believe in you, even though that in my way, that was automatic, because I believed in my mom, what my mom said. I believe what my dad said. You know what I mean? But
kids are not as believing. They're not as, they just don't follow the way it used to. I don't know. It's just a different world, man.
Yeah, it's definitely a different world, man. And I don't know, man. But like I said, but you know, it's where it's headed, man. It's like I said, it's showing. You know, it's not just something that we're just talking about. This is something that's showing every single day. You know, like I said, kids going out there, you know, cursing and being disrespectful, and you know, I don't want that. Fall out in the store if you want to when you was a child. See what happens.
Yeah.
see,
that still happens though.
Yeah, well, yeah, it does, but that might be the one that see, because I've seen parents also, they let them get away with stuff just because they don't want to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? So they mean like, oh well, I mean, you know, they're where instead of saying, let me get this child up or discipline this child, they're like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. I mean, come on, man. What is embarrassment? What are you preparing that child for in life? You know what I'm saying? We have to just look at the reality of this, man. We have to know that this is you're not building just for right now, you're building for the future. You know what I'm saying? Do they get out there and think that everybody's going to hand them something on a regular basis, or do you realize that they're going to be a person that's just going to, you know, they have to earn, you know?
It'd be hard for some of these kids, man. They already spoiled.
They don't think they got to work for anything.
Everything's already handed to them and passed down to them, and you know, everybody walk and holds their hand for them. I mean, shit, I know some that's, you know, in their 30s that, you know, still spoiled.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, but how could you? But what do you? Because like I said, when they have, but see, they got you at this point. Sometimes, at a certain extent, that they have you to follow on. But what happens when, if God forbid, there's something happen to you? What happens?
You're right.
What you have then? You know what I mean? So now they're gonna get a culture shock. I mean, they're gonna not a culture shock. They're gonna get a reality check. You know what I'm saying? Like, wait a minute.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, I don't have that person.
That reality check is going to be a culture shock for them, though.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. Hey, brothers, we got brother Mike on. We got brother Mike on, man. He wanted to come up here on the panel, man. So I welcome you, my brother.
How you doing?
What up, Mike? What up? What up?
What up, Mike?
Sure, man.
Hey man, hey, these two brothers, Chris and D wasn't up there last when you was on last week, man. So these two brothers that we have on the panel, man, to show some, you know, give some positivity, bro.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, go ahead, you guys do your thing. I'm sitting here listening.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was saying about kids and being like when my son turned 21. You know, we do birthdays real big because growing up I didn't really have nothing to celebrate for my birthday. But so when my kids was older, when he was 21, we went to New Orleans. And lo and behold, I said, we ain't gonna sit in this hotel. I think it was cold. I can't remember. Cold. It was just too high, I think. And we went out and got a drink. Me and him took a picture because that was me. That was memorable for me because my son never drank around me. Now he might have drank in front of his friend. He might have done stuff behind our back because that's what kids do. But when he was 21, I made sure he drank, and I watched him. He didn't get too drunk, but he was drinking responsible. And to me, that was a big moment for me.
Yeah,
my firstborn doing that, that's cool. Now, as far as being his friend and all that, he already know. He already established that. My mama wasn't my friend. I ain't your friend, and he knows that. Right. Now, my younger daughter, on the other hand, good Lord, she girls are different.
Right.
Girls are different. She's something else. She knows her place, But she knows I'm dad, that's mom. We don't play, but she's the baby, so she kind of bends the rules a little bit. And she could be spoiled at times. I saw it today. Somebody broke into her car and we had to go get a rental car. She's talking about, why can't I get an SUV? Well, you're 18. You can't get an SUV. You got to get a smaller car. Well, I want an SUV. I don't want to drive that. And I was like, well, I mean, that to me, when she was acting that way, that's being spoiled. But I said, they're going to give you from A to B. And I can blame that for myself for, giving her a car when she was 16 and doing this for and doing certain things for, because I still feel that's the way to do it in some aspects of it. Right. But she works, she's paying one bill of hers, and that's a good thing to show her responsibility. But the thing is, she saw, like Dion say, the blueprint of working, of going out and getting it. You don't have to sit at home. My wife was a prime example. She didn't have to work as a child, but she went to work at 15 and a half at the mall because she wanted her own money to do her own thing. Because she knew that if in this world you got to do stuff. And that was our generation. But this generation, now you got some that going to go out and get it, and you got some that going to play that video game and say, let world come to me.
Right. Right.
And that's some parents don't tell them you don't have to work because you can play video games and eat off my food all day. You 28. Man. And that's when they come that friendship right there. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, but you know what? As far as where you chose to do with your child is your choice, but you still have a sense of you showing a sense of responsibility. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's nothing wrong with that because she's not just completely just where you just sitting there telling her, oh, you ain't got to do this, you ain't got to do that. Oh, you ain't got to earn your money. Basically you're not preparing her for life. You are preparing her for life. You see what I'm saying? But I'm talking about the parents that really, I mean, a child can't do any wrong, or a child have to basically, you can do what you want to do, and whatever you do is right. That's where I'm going with it on that part. Because
you got a lot of parents like that. Sorry, Shay, you got a lot of parents. I know several parents that does that, and they want to. Once their kid turn a certain age, that's my party friend. Yeah. That's my. And I go, huh? Because you was waiting this long to party with your kids. I'm like, oh, I'm telling you, man. I can flip it on the internet. I mean, flip on Facebook, Instagram. You like. The girl doing the same thing her mama doing.
Yeah.
I'm like,
But what I think it is, man, sometimes I think some parents live their life through their children. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I think what, just like say, for instance, like you have athletes, because you had a child, because I played basketball, I want my child to play basketball. I want this. But not trying to take my time out to figure out what they want to do. If they don't want to play sport, they might not want to be sports. They might want to be
through your child. Living vicariously through your child.
Yeah. And I've seen that happen. But we just can't. We have to hear them out also. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying again, it's all the children's fault because we make them sometimes we create those monsters. I call them monsters. Man, you know what I'm saying?
I got 5 monsters then, man. Look at man. And my monsters drive me crazy.
Yeah, man. And so these are I don't know, man. It's just like I said, it's like it's showing really majorly in society today, man. I'm not saying they didn't have them back in the day because you had very few, but for the most part, I believe that everybody had old school values. I'm gonna just give you something like small and simple. Like remember, when it came to them street lights, you better beat them street lights on. You know what I mean? And I thought that was a wonderful thing because, as I thought it was stupid when I was younger, of course. Why I got to be home before the streetlights come on? But now if you look at today's times, man, I see they should have still instilled that same thing in because I've been out at some time as a grown adult at 2 and 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'm seeing kids out there riding bikes, man. They can't be no more than 13, 14. So, but then you wonder where's you don't even know where your child is, because why? You let the streets, you let everybody else babysit your children because you want to do what you want to do. You know, you can't do that, man. You got to put your hands on your children. You got to be able to, because I mean, my mom, but if I go somewhere, I better let her know exactly where I'm at, and I better be what I say I was at. If I'm not, it's gonna be some repercussions. You know, but there again, where you know, the parenting is different right now, man. I don't know, you know. And like I said, I just couldn't see myself being my child's friend. You know what I mean? I couldn't even begin to, like you said, I'm not going to club with you. I'm not going to hang out with you. I'm not going to be around. Here I am. I'm older than everybody in the space that you in. What sense of that? And you know what I mean? It's like I walked in the place before. I did that, man, when I was in Houston. And I walked in the spot. One of the guys was like, "Hey, man, why don't you come hang out?" I said, "All right, bet." I walked in, I started looking around. I said, "Man, these kids in here, my children age. What do I look like up in here?"
You ain't lying.
I can't do that, man. You know what I'm saying? But
I ain't seen the inside of a club in so long, I couldn't tell you, bro.
Oh, me neither, brother. Me either. Me personally either.
A club? Now, I've been in a bar here and there, but
they got I don't even know if they, you know, honestly, I don't even know if they have clubs out there like that no more. I mean, I know they got lounges and stuff like that, lounges, but
they got clubs. They do, but I mean,
they still got clubs. Yeah, they still got clubs, but the thing about, but they, you know, they give them lounges and they give them, you know, they give them different names and make just not saying it's a club, you know.
And they all got dance floors.
Yeah, they got dance floors. So to me, when you got dance floor in the bar, it's a club. I mean, that's just me personally. You know what I mean? They ain't serving food. They just got a dance floor in the club. You know,
they should have a club. That's what we did. I ain't mad at them. Go hang out, have a good time, but it's not for me though.
No, I mean, but there again, I mean, you know, it's like when you go out, you know, you want to have a sense of security, you know, to a certain extent, because I just got to be around my age group. I can't be around 20, 22, 23, 24, 25-year-old kids.
Nah.
And those are kids to me.
Nah.
You know?
25, yeah.
That's them kids to me, man. I can't see myself around them. Well, I mean, what do we have in common? We don't have nothing in common.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are we gonna talk about? Oh, yeah, man. Hey, man, you remember this? No, I don't know what that is. Oh, okay. Well, that means we don't need to be talking then. You know what I mean? That's just my I mean, that's just me. I mean, that's the way I feel about it. I mean, what do we have in common? You know what I'm saying? But, you know, Mike, would you like to say anything on that, brother?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just sitting here listening to you, man. You know, I don't like too much like hanging out with what I call them teenagers, adolescents either, man, you know. But you know, I've got a daughter, you know, that's over 20, you know, and I'm having a hard time with her right now. So, you know, I'm just you know, I'm really not in a good place right now with my daughter. So, you know,
I understand that, brother.
Bro, I understand it fully.
Yeah,
I understand it fully.
that.
Yeah, we all understand.
Why you think we here? What do you think started this? We all know.
And you know, they think
hold on, y'all.
And that generation up under us, man, they think they know more than we know.
Bro, that's you preach to the choir on that one, bro.
You know, I got a daughter, man. She can't even cook me. She don't even know how to cook, man. You know, can't go in there and cook me some eggs and some bacon. Don't even know how to do that too much. You know what I mean? So, you know, their values are not like ours, man. You know, I'm not saying not all children, you know, but percentage of them, man, they missed out on a lot of things. You know what I mean? Or they just don't want to do a lot of things, you know.
Yeah,
that's because all that different kind of stuff, man.
Right, and you know, I found her to hear people, you know, like it's almost like when I take it as, how dare you ask me to do something like that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like really, how dare you ask me? You know, and to me, that's, I mean, you know, it's like, So what happens when you know, I mean, you're going to be in a position where you might have to take a sense of authority at some point. You know what I mean? So I'm telling you this because I care, and I'm telling you this not, you know, to probably get you some life skills. You know what I'm saying? Because if you choose to be a wife one day or a husband one day, you know, you want to know how to do these things. You know what I'm saying? But I don't need you as my slave. I just need you. This is it's sort of a sense of teaching you how to do different things. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, but even though speaking of that, man, I remember my mom. I think everybody experienced this with mama be sitting there and you sitting like you in the other room. They call your name. My mom, you say, Rod. I like, yeah. I come to the, yeah, mom. Hey, can you have me the remote control? Right, man, you sitting right goddamn there. Why I gotta go get the control? You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. But
man, did you not know that you were the remote control back then?
And you was the one holding
When
it.
your mama told you to go get the remote control. I come from the era where I was the remote control. I could have been outside playing, come inside. Change that channel right there. Turn it now.
Yeah, man. But I've been there too, man. I've been there too, man. It was like, because you remember years ago, man, you remember you only had what 2 buttons on the remote?
Yeah.
You had, I think it was 3 buttons. It was a power button, it was an up, down, and a down button. That was it.
And that mug was fat too.
Yeah, big old fat thing, man. Like you knock somebody out with that thing, man.
Check this one out, man. My daughter, I think she's about 12. Lazy. Her grandmother, my mother told her to go empty the trash, and she was pouting and huffing, pouting. You know, she didn't want to do it. So I looked over at her. So she finally got her behind up, and we were upstairs. You know, so she got the trash, and on the way getting ready to go down the stairs, the trash slipped out of her hand, and all the trash rolled down my mama's stairs. You know. So she didn't want to empty the trash anyway. So my mama looked over at me, and my mama gave me a look like, "Now I know you gonna whoop her ass." You understand?
Yeah.
I had no other choice, man. I never spanked my daughter before, man, because my daddy was so mean to me. You understand what I'm saying? So when my mama gave that look, I had no other choice but to whoop her. You understand what I'm saying? So I took her down there and I spanked her behind. And this is how naive I am. After I got through spanking her, I started crying. I said, "See what you did?" You know. So if I was to do it all over again, man, you know, I think I was a good parent, but I wasn't disciplined enough. You know what I mean? I should when I whooped that behind right then and there, I should have I should have act like I really meant it. But it hurt me so bad, man, because my old man used to just he used to do damage to me, boy.
Mike.
And I said, if I ever have a child, you know, I wouldn't do that, man.
Mike,
you know,
I think it's a fantastic thing to think that your mama pushed you to do what you should.
Oh man, she looked at me. She said, "Now I know."
She said, yeah, that look for you for even as a grown man.
Because she didn't want to do it no way, you know.
You know, it's so funny, man, that you mentioned that, Mike, because I used to be like me and Strigger used to be roommates, and my daughter, my oldest daughter, she used to be there, and Strigger be like, oh man, you know, oh she okay, she good, whatever. And I used to be like, I'm gonna tear that little tail up, man, whatever. And then she'll give you them eyes, and then when he say that, and she look at me, she give me them eyes. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I ain't gonna. Man. So I wasn't a major disciplinarian either, man. No.
You know what? Not no major disciplinarian. I ain't never see him disciplinarian.
Yeah, so I get it, man. I wouldn't know disciplinarian if I would just. Because my daughters, man, it's like I can raise my voice a certain way, and they'll be like, you know, oh shoot, Dad ain't playing, you know, whatever, you know. So I understand where you coming from on that, Mike. I really do, man. I mean, personally, I understand that. It's just something about them girls, man. It was hard for you to do that, man. You know, because you feel like it hurt. Look, and you know, it was so funny when I used to hear that said, you know, this gonna hurt me just as much as it's gonna hurt you, and I used to say, no, I think it hurt me a lot much more. You know.
Well, I tell you, honestly, it brought tears to my eyes because I couldn't, like I told you, my old man was so mean to me. I just couldn't believe that I had to whoop her because the way my mama, you know, my mama looked at me, so I had no other choice. You know what I mean?
Man, I ain't gonna even lie to you, man. I got so immune to ass whoopings. When I get sent to the principal's office,
Oh,
it didn't even bother me. Yeah, you can call my mom. It don't even matter. She gonna whoop my ass. She gonna cuss me out, and I'm going right outside to go run my power. It don't even matter. I'm gonna take that. Man, after a while, she stopped whooping me and started taking stuff. You know what I'm saying? Games and stopped letting me go outside. And man, that's how you hurt them. Heard this one lady tell me straight up. She say, "With kids today, all you gotta do is cut off the Wi-Fi.
You're right.
That's all you gotta do. Cut that
That's all
Wi-Fi
you
off. So I ain't gotta say nothing to you. I ain't gotta touch you. I'm just cut the Wi-Fi off and shit.
Kids
Shut
in
it
the
down.
house with that
I
Wi-Fi,
was tortured, man. My old man was, like I say, he was in the service, and I had this old teacher. Her name was August, and she called the house around about 6:30. So I take the phone off the hook downstairs and leave it off the hook, hoping that it would just stay off the hook. So every time I call,
Still laughing about that one.
yeah.
Boy.
Well, my mom would pick the phone up and she'd say, "Well, when I come, this phone ain't ringing." So she put it back on the hook, and she come downstairs. She said, "You must have done something in school because you didn't have this phone off the hook." So we had to sit there, and my old man, but he was cruel, man. My old man, when he get home, she would tell him, I'd have to sit down in the basement, and after he get through eating, you understand what I'm saying? Minute he get through eating, that was his cue to come downstairs and whoop my ass. So I'd have to sit down there and just be tortured. You know what I mean?
That's torture, ain't it?
But I don't care if I
wait till your daddy come home. Wait till your daddy come home. Oh man, that was torture.
I could bring D's, B's, C's, and A's home, but anything below that, he whooped my ass. No, and there was no explaining. There's nothing I could tell him. You understand what I'm saying? It's really
That is crazy.
bad.
That's so funny you say that though, man. I remember them days, man. Just be torture, bro.
Oh
Torture.
goodness, waiting to get your ass whooped.
Man, that is torture, man. That's torture. Because you're sitting there every time a car pass by, every time something come by, you
Man,
look.
y'all better stop, man. I'm getting flashbacks. This is PTSD,
You
bro.
looking, boy. You looking. You wait till your daddy get home.
I
You
used to
wait
get
till your
violent
daddy-
ass whoopings, boy.
Hey man, it was so
I'm
funny.
I'm with D though. D. Was it D or Chris that said that he got so many whoopings he just didn't matter no more?
Oh, that was D. That was D.
Yeah, indeed.
That was me, man. I done got so many whoopings it just didn't matter no more. I was like, well, shoot. I hate to say it, the kids. I probably was a different type of kid. I went to 13 different schools before I got into high school.
Oh Lord, Jesus.
Good Lord.
Oh, good Lord.
You was what now?
I was 13 different schools before I got into high school.
God damn.
Yeah.
My man, you was doing it, wasn't you?
Kicked out of a couple.
Oh my God.
One I got kicked out of. My mother never found out because I took that letter because there was no email back then.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. My mom said that she spent my college education on my legal fees.
Oh, you was a little gangster.
Yeah,
hold up. Hey, hold up, Michael. Now ask him where was his career before he retired? Ask him.
What was your career?
I was a police officer. From patrolman to chief. Yeah.
Okay.
Patrolman to chief, yeah. So yeah. Yeah. But you know what? Let me say this. In order to be a good and effective officer, you have had to have lived a life. I was a juvenile and I lived that life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was not an adult criminal. And thank God by the state of New York, it was when you commit a crime in New York. If you're underage, as long as you're a juvenile, it stays in your juvenile file. So as I even went in the military, they weren't able to access my juvenile file. So I was able to access the military. So, but prior to me becoming a changed individual, like I said, I went to 13 different schools. I ran the streets of New York from the time I was 7 years old. I was going from New York to New Jersey, by myself. So, in that atmosphere, you become a different person.
Did any of y'all ever pee in the bed?
In the bed.
Who didn't do that?
I think everybody did that. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, released all types of fluids in the business.
Because we were too lazy to get our ass up and go to the bathroom.
Man, I was grown before I stopped peeing in the bed. Well, I wasn't that old, but I mean, yeah, that was a mess for me, boy.
But I kind of had I had to kind of get a reality. I think it was a point of being lazy. I don't even think it's a point of just wanting to lay in the bed. I think it was just being lazy. You didn't want to get out the bed.
Being lazy, sleeping hard. Don't feel like getting up thinking you got up. You didn't get up. You just wet yourself. Shit.
Yeah, forget it. I get up and take a shower or a bath or whatever. Forget it. Yeah, man.
Bro. So,
Oh, I was cold-blooded, man. I'd be walking around late at night digging in the drawers and stuff, trying to get me some drawers, because when you don't want to be wet. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Oh man, I hear my old man, mama, he say, that boy must have peed in the bed again. I hear him in there moving around in them drawers. Oh man, I had a hard time with that, man.
Yeah, man, but
But one thing though, my daddy, he kicked my ass for everything you can think of, but that's something he never did. He never whooped me for peeing in the bed.
Cause he did it.
Oh, he did it.
I never even thought about that. You got a good point there, man. You know what? It is. I'm a old nigga now. I never even thought about it like that. He probably did too, man.
Yeah, man. I agree with you on that, man. I would agree 100% on that one. He did it. You're right.
You know how I stopped?
What's that?
You know how I stopped? My dad came to me and he says, Michael, that's my name, Michael. He says, Michael, my brother, your Uncle Benny is coming here to see you, and he's gonna be sleeping downstairs with you. So try not to pee on my brother, okay? So him and my dad, they went out, they went out drinking. And I was downstairs, and I was pacing back and forth. I had my chest also. I am not gonna pee in the bed. I'm not gonna pee in the bed. All night, man. The minute I dozed off, man. I went to sleep, and they come home and they woke me up. I peed all in the bed. Man, I was just, I gave up at that point, man. They were both drunk. You know what I mean? I was telling them, Daddy, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry, Uncle. I'm sorry, But they both put their hands around me, man. They said, that's all right.
It's all right, bro.
That day, I never peed that ever again, man.
But funny, how my mom stopped me? She bought me these certain sheets, and it had animals on it. And she
want to pee on the animals?
Yeah, like animals, like tigers and stuff of that nature. And she told me, now if you pee in the bed, they're gonna bite your little wee off. and that's how I stopped peeing in the bed, man.
It's crazy. We're talking about this, but the reality is, how some things affect people in a different way. I had a time where my kids had a friend staying over the night, and the little boy, he was a boy, bigger kid, and he wet him. He peed in the bed, and I helped him clean it up, kept it quiet. My kids never found out. To this day, me and that young man, we still talk.
Wow.
Because he was, he wasn't a little boy, but he was, it was something that, he would have been extremely embarrassed about. But I was a single dad. Shit happens. Come here, man. We'll get this taken care of. Took care of it. Went on with the day. The next day, everything was cool. But that interaction,
that was impactful, man. That was impactful.
And to this day, I'm telling you, me and that young man talk more than my own kids talk.
Right. And see, that's what I said. You didn't see how impactful that was, but like I said, that's awesome, man. That is awesome, man. That
let's go on the panel and talk about it.
You notice I was real delicate about how I try to work around that.
I ain't gonna need much lie to you. I ain't gonna lie to you, OG Strick. I'm gonna be real. Every time he call me or I call him, that'll be the topic. Look, but it'll be between us though. I ain't gonna tell nobody else.
All you gotta say is I ain't gonna tell nobody, right? I ain't gonna tell nobody. And then they start laughing with each other.
Yeah, but that's amazing, man.
I think it really did make a difference in that kid's life.
Yeah, man. Yeah, because you wasn't trying to embarrass them.
No, man, no.
Yeah, so I mean, even with your own children, you didn't go back there and talk.
They don't know to this day. They don't know to this day.
Right. That's how impactful that was on his life, man. You know, and he probably a fine young man too, though. You know what I mean?
He really is.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So you just imagine that. Just little things that we can do, man, that could be, you know, so impactful on the young person.
That could have went a totally different way.
It could have actually. It could have. It could have turned him in you know, in a lot of ways, man. That's how sometimes these kids be out here, you know, doing crazy stuff, man, and we wonder why they do stuff because of something that can be embarrassment when they were younger, and they carried it all the way through to their grown years, and then they get to flip it out and tripping, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's amazing, man, how things can make a difference, man. You know,
right.
And I love that, man. But like I said, man, yeah, man, it's amazing. It's crazy how we are talking about it as grown individuals, man, and we talking about
it, though. Think about something as simple as that and how it, you know what I mean? That's crazy, but it look at what something like that can have an effect on somebody.
Yeah, it can. It actually can, man. It can have a major effect on somebody, man, because like I said, you never know when a kid is like when it came to the youngster, when you were young and you were bullied, or you know, and that's another thing, you know, like I've noticed a lot of kids with that's something also that when, you know, I see people used to get bullied, and you know, my dad or my mom used to tell me like, hey, you better fight back. If they do this to you, you hit them back, or you do this.
Yeah.
Now, you know, kids. Yeah, but kids now, man, it's like, you know, kids were committing suicide by rapid numbers, man. Because of bullying.
One of the reasons I became a cop, believe it or not. I was a bully buster growing up. I was that guy that would beat up a bully in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah,
bully, I beat the daylights out of you. It didn't matter. You bullying somebody, I got something for you.
No, that's right. I like bullies.
and literally wound up getting friends in the military from that. One of my oldest friends in the military. We are friends because I had to stop people from beating his tail.
Yeah, I had to do it too, man. I only had to do it one time. I jumped on the biggest bully in the school, and after I jumped on him, I knew already I couldn't beat him, you know. But after I jumped on him, all them, you know, the little weights, they stayed off my back because they figured, they say, well, if Michael gonna jump on the biggest guy in the school, you know, he probably wouldn't have no problem
with me.
And that kept all them the rest of them off my back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I had to play the crazy role, you know.
Yeah, man.
Getting bullied.
I guess I didn't have to play too much after the third expulsion. It was a new rumor around the school.
Oh no, man. Me personally, I ain't too big on the crowds, but you know, people like to show out in front of people when they got an audience. And me personally, I'm gonna catch you when you go to the bathroom. I'm gonna catch you. I'm gonna get you. That's just me. That's just me. I don't, you know, like to put on no show in front of nobody. But we're gonna get somewhere. And nobody gotta break this up, man. It'll happen a few times.
Yeah, man. That, like I said, that just like something like that. But yeah, that's what I've said. The bullying thing, and it's like I'm sitting there looking at these kids, man. I'm like, when these kids, you know, you hear the story, it's sad that a kid can't take all this stuff. And sometimes I'll be wondering what kind of life they had at home where they can come home and they feel like they want to take their own life due to bullying. I mean,
yeah, that's something strong, man. Well, you know,
you've been in law enforcement, brother, man. Because I remember you said you worked at that CEP school. I remember you telling me about Yeah, man, and how was that experience, man, when you was over there, bro? I mean, because I remember you was telling me.
Crazy. Community education schools. I don't know if y'all recall, but Ron Page, when George Walker Bush was the president, he made Ron Page, who was the Secretary of Education. He made him the Secretary of Education. Ron Page started the alternative school district in Texas. So when they had these alternative schools outside of the HISD, they would open these private schools. And I worked for one of those schools. When kids got in fights and what have you, you would have to be remanded to the alternative school for let's just say 180 days. You know, when you go to school that year, you're gonna have to go to school in that alternative district for problems and what have you. But it was actually owned by the penal institutions. Believe it or not, the private prisons that they have in Texas, they opened an alternative school district.
Wow.
And it was like a farming thing. I mean, basically they had the CEP school, and then they had what they call a Brown school. So if you couldn't complete your education in the CEP, they would bring you to the Brown school where you'd walk around with carts and you get metal detectors coming in and this, that, and another. I got truly upset with the environment. You know, being a wayward kid, I went to boarding school because I was a bad kid. I got in a lot of trouble when I was a kid. I thought this was an opportunity to be around some kids that basically would get an education, but also, you know, you could see that they might need some different guidance. But it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was just basically put kids in a room and we just need a babysitter.
Yeah.
And I got disappointed. So I stopped working there. It was hard because you think that you're going to do something that's beneficial, but you see that the system is not made for them to be beneficial. It's made for them to be held, hold, and contained until released.
Yeah.
Or incarcerated again.
So would you say that would be a part of preparing them for actual prison, or?
Oh, absolutely. That's why I said it was a farming environment. You had an alternative school, and then if you didn't make it through the alternative school and your behavior wasn't good, then we put you in the Brown school. In that Brown school, they're gonna have more officers there. You're gonna walk around with your books and your papers in a milk crate. You know, you're gonna be treated like a convict. And that's all it was, is preparing you for that penal institution that they own. You gotta understand, they owned an alternative school district.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know that.
And then in between, and then they own the penitentiaries. So what are you doing? You're farming children. You know, when you misbehave in HISD, we're gonna put you over there. And HISD is a failing school system, keep in mind. It's still a failing school system. But yet, because they open this private industry alternative school district where you can open up your own school and get money funded for you, well, hell, they made him the Secretary of Education. Now, it wasn't, like I said, if you had a successful school system, it'd be different than they made you Secretary of Education. But when it's failing, you know what I mean?
They still made him? Wow.
Yeah, well, that's what Bush did. But then of course you have people like DeVos who was there with Trump. But anyway, the thing is that the system was made in a way that it's not about success for so many of the Black and brown children.
Well, can I ask you?
Right.
If a child or student is failing, in that institution that you have him in, why would you? I mean, what am I trying to say? Would that still work? Put him in an institution that's worse than the one that he's failing in?
Wow.
Or why would you do that?
A good question.
Well, see, the thing is that why would he do that? Why would the system do that? The system, you know, our children are not in a learning environment a lot of times in some of the lower tax bracketed school areas. They're not in a learning environment. They're in a babysitting environment. You know, those that can succeed because they have been given drive and they've got a fire in them. But for the most part, they put our children in an environment where the education is substandard.
That's
you know, so it's not about how many they can educate. It's how many they can push through the system. And when they figured that out, then it's like, let's push it through the system over here. Let's push it, and we can get some money from it. Let's start this school district. And we can funnel that money. Yeah. That kid has to go to our school for 180 days. So whatever the federal government was going to give us for that kid, we'll get that money.
Yep.
You see? And they would pack that school it'd be 900 kids in that school coming in. And this is just private funds coming in, you know, and the teachers weren't even certified.
Wow.
It was bad.
Yeah. Hey, be honest with you straight right now, some of these teachers still ain't certified. They just right now, HIV, any district you think of, they just need bodies.
Yeah, they
As
need
far as
bodies.
teachers.
Well, you know why they need bodies? Because they don't want to pay teachers what they deserve and what they should be paying.
Man, 100% agree with you,
They
brother.
don't pay them, and if you don't have the incentive, if you want to be an educator, but you don't want to be hungry, you don't want to starve in the process. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, take this job. You know, hey, teach the children. Well, we're not going to pay you enough for you to survive, but take this job anyway because we need you. We respect you. And no, it doesn't work that way. So you're not going to get the quality teachers.
Wow.
You know,
Mhm.
you're just not going to get it.
Yeah, Brother Strick, you were saying about the alternative school, and I remember that year they started the alternative school because I was a kid that got in trouble to where I didn't go to alternative school, but they would take us, say I was in high school, we'll go to middle school, which I was zoned to Dowling, and we had to sit in this classroom all day. And they see you work over there, but nobody did it. We read the newspaper, act up, but if you got in a fight, it was other process they went through.
And that
But
was
nobody
before the
seemed to be
system
fighting.
started, right?
Yep, huh?
That was before alternative school districts started.
That was before alternatives, but I remember alternative school. I think it was one in A-Leaf called Crumb or something like that.
It was CEP.
Yes, it was one in
Off of Fondren, CEP. And then
that's it, CEP. That's what. Okay, yeah, it was one off
Community
Fondren,
Education Partners is what they call
and it
it.
was one off by in South Park by Hartman. I remember that
One
one.
off of 45 in Monroe.
Yep, that's it. See, golly, man. Because I remember that year. I was like, man, I think I was already in high school beyond that, but I started acting right.
Mhm.
But I remember, I never knew what you just said was part of penal institution. But I knew you get paid for it.
Texas has the largest. We have the largest privately owned penal institution in the country.
Yeah.
The largest amount of privately owned penal institutions. So one of those individuals also had a school district, an alternative school.
Wow. We kind of, that's sad, ain't it?
Yeah, it is sad. One would make you wonder why Ron Page was made the Secretary of Education, huh?
I remember that year too. I remember when you said his name rang bell. My mother was very involved in the school. She knew Mickey Leland. She knew people in the state government and all that. And I remember hearing that name.
Yeah.
But that's all connection. That was all connection.
Well, you know what?
I mean,
the thing is that when we get connections and we don't serve our people, then it's not a connection. You just part of the problem.
True. But it's true.
When I was a police officer, if I did what everybody else did, I was part of the problem. You understand? I was part of the problem. So when I was there, I couldn't be part of the problem. So I didn't have a lot of friends. That's fine. But when we make it to certain points and even having certain knowledge, I hate to think when people have some information and don't put it forward, don't tell them. They might go ahead and use it successfully. What the hell's wrong with you? Why won't you give it to them? You know? And when you have an opportunity, like when I had my business, I always tried to instill and empower. I didn't care who it was. You try and instill and empower that individual so that way it promotes, positive thinking and success. You got to do that everywhere around. And law enforcement was one of those places where, man, it's so hard because you hire people that they're more qualified than they are capable.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, that's so true.
That's amazing, man.
That's so true. Mm-hmm.
I have a question for the panel. When I was in school, they had accelerated classes, just plain classes, and classes for slow classes. What do you call those classes?
Special ed
classes. Now my question to the panel is, what do you if your children were in just a regular class and they bring children from what is that? What'd you call that class? A retarded class? What'd you say?
Special ed.
A special ed class.
Yeah.
You know what?
The question that I'm asking you is, do you think that child belongs in that? Do you think your child would learn more or less? Would it be more beneficial for your child if that child was in that class with her?
You know what?
Do you understand?
Can I say? Can I respond to that one?
Mm-hmm.
The special education system,
Mm-hmm.
when it is not for functionally or mentally disabled individuals,
Mm-hmm.
has been abused so viciously in the public school system. Because if you would give an individual a check for their child, they will go to the lowest classes.
Mm.
Social Security, you already qualified for special education most of the time. Okay?
Well, see, right now you can't do that. I think that's against the law. You know, you've got to give a child a chance. That's why they don't really have accelerated classes.
I hate to say it, but I've seen them prepare children for special education without the credentialing or the diagnosis for them to have it. They've done it. They do it continuously. They try to do it with me.
Okay, well, maybe I this way. Do you think that that by the teacher having to take time out in the class to take care of that, to teach that retarded child, do you think that takes away from your child? That's
No, I don't think so. I think that, you know what, those special education teachers are trained, and if they need more assistance, then they're going to have to get more assistance. I don't think that it's something that should be, dealt with on a time limit on each, because every child is different when it comes to special needs.
Okay. What you're saying is special education kids should be in special ed classes, and regular normal children in normal class. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Well, let me. Sorry, Brother Tree. Let me just say. Sorry, my son does exactly what y'all talking about. My son, my wife. My son basically pulls out the special needs kids in the classroom where regular kids are at, and he reads to them and teaches to them on their level. So the teacher won't be, I guess, not bothered, but still teach the other class, but still teach the class as a whole. But my son is just breaking it down in their level. Because a lot of kids are on meds. A lot of kids are on meds. A lot of kids will need that extra help to get by. Some do, some don't. Depending on the kid, depending on how they are at home too. Because you get that special help at school, you ain't gonna get that special help at home. Because parents just gonna put you by the wayside. But in Texas, it's a law that you have to have that special, not like mental retarded, but the kid that have a learning disability in the same classroom with regular kids. That's just making him or her feel normal.
Okay, well, what
like
about
a normal kid?
What about your child?
Sorry, Brother Strick, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that's what I mean. My son was in those classes, and some teachers, like in kindergarten and first grade, oh yeah, they push it to the wayside. And like Strick said, some of these kids are getting just pushed through the system. It's true. That's been getting some Huck was a puck since integration, I believe so. But as far as what you're saying is that I think it should be learning disability kids in the same classroom with regular kids, because that way they won't feel different. Because when we was growing up, I'm pretty sure everybody on this panel know that they had that separate classroom, and they walked in a line, and that was a special ed class. We was in the regular class. Am I correct? Because I think I saw that in middle school and high school. Did that go for you, Brother Shaq? Was that the same way?
Yeah, that was the same way. Yeah, that was the same way with me.
Yeah. And I wanted to be in special ed, but they wouldn't put me in.
Yeah, well, you want to do that so you can get out of the class, because you was gonna ace that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Like, bro. When I saw them watching Romeo and Juliet on the video instead of reading the book, I said, "Shit, I want to do it. I don't want to read the book if I don't have to." I mean,
I remember a guy, goddamn, he scored low on the test just so he can go especially. I said, "Boy, what's wrong with you, man?" You know what I'm saying? But he went from, like the good classes, and he was like, yeah, he like that. Man, they get to just sit down They just eat lunch. They ain't doing nothing, man. We ain't got to do. Oh shit! I need to get up in there, man. You know what I'm saying? Like it's horrible, man. But you never knew, but you never know how impactful it could have been to you in life in general. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
So,
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's a stigma.
School year was over. I was always going to summer school.
Yeah, Lord, yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
man, look, I went to summer school before, man, and I was like, you know, my mama say, I can't. My thing about it is I used to always say shit. My mom used to say, boy, if you can't get it, I'm not paying for no summer school. If you can't get it through the regular school year, you ain't gonna go. And I know I didn't want to be behind in the grade. You know what I mean? So I had after I went there 1 year, she said, this is my last year paying for summer school. She said, you go to summer school, and if you don't get it this year, she said, you're gonna be behind. You're gonna be a part, you're gonna be on the teacher crew.
You know what's crazy, Shaq? When I was in school in New York, I found out that you can go to summer school for free and you can knock out 3 classes in the summer.
Right.
When I found that out my freshman year, shoot, I went to summer school every single summer.
Oh no, man.
I went to summer school. I could knock out 3 classes in 2 months. I'm going.
Shoot.
I'm going. And I went to summer school freshman year, sophomore year, and junior year. By the time my senior year came, I ain't had 2 classes to take.
Hey, I was trying to get. You know what? Hey, Michael, we got a brother named Sir Miguel. We was trying to try to get on there, man. Is Peter North here with an old adult 1-star retired? My friend Lexington Steele. What?
Whatever.
Oh man, look.
Oh,
Johnny?
somebody hacking it.
Yeah,
Somebody
Johnny,
hacking
get on there, please, Johnny. Please, can you get that, Johnny?
Okay, hold on.
The hell is that?
Yeah, they trolling, man. They do they try to get your stuff shut down, man. I hadn't had this since I've been on here, man.
Man, God, man, the devil busy, ain't he?
We ignore people like that anyway. They don't get the
He ain't lying. We don't worry about that.
Goodbye.
But
See them?
Yeah.
Frank and Johnny.
yeah.
Hey.
Fuck that crap, boy. What the hell was that? I was wondering what you was reading out there. Look at the
That's what
comments.
I'm sitting there reading it like, what is that? And then I'm looking, I'm like, hey, Sir Miguel, when we was talking about Michael, you can ask this brother jumping on, man. This is Sir Miguel, man.
How you doing, brother?
Yeah.
How you doing, brother?
Yeah,
Brother
right.
Shaq, Brother Strick,
I texted him, man. I told him, I said we were talking on the
Brother
subject
Chris.
of educational.
How you doing, brother? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm
Hey,
blessed.
I just want to say that you see that you watch Farrakhan Messages on Sunday.
You know what? I didn't get a chance. I'm gonna have to do the
Okay.
I'm gonna have to go back and replay it. But I didn't get
All
a
right.
chance to. And you know what's funny? I had meant to watch it because you know I'm real heavy into him, and I had a chance to
100%.
see him. I had a chance to see him speak when I was 8 years old at the Forum out here in LA, and so I've always been supportive of him and the nation.
Okay, I'm just letting them out. I got a lot of Muslim friends, black Muslim friends, so I listen to them. I listen to Minister Farrakhan, and I listen to Minister. So I was just asking you
Oh, it's all good, brother.
because a lot of people can't stay there too. So a lot of people get offended. So I mean,
Not I, brother.
and our own people.
Not I.
But you know what? The problem,
Huh?
the reason why so many people get offended is because they don't know how to handle the truth. And when you don't look within the layers of the truth, then you can't see your way. So you'll continue to do the things that are not God-like and be offended by.
Mm-hmm. All right, you're right there.
Hey,
You're right there.
brother Sir Miguel, I had texted him, man, and told him that we were talking about the educational system. And
Yeah.
how we were talking about it, and how Brother Strick was up there. He used to be at they got an alternative school that's off in Texas, and I was going to tell him about, because I know if you know anything about Texas, Sir Miguel.
Yeah, I lived in Austin for about 3 years.
Well, then you are very familiar with Ron Page and his antics, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we were talking about it, and how he was telling about how the alternative school and how Texas has. That was something new that Strick brought to my attention about. I didn't know that CEP was a part of the what did they say? As far as the
privately owned penal institution.
Mm-hmm.
They were funded by the state.
Yeah, man, and we were talking about that, man. And Frank and Johnny's husband was asking a few questions about something, and I was wondering, did he want to hop back on the panel so we can, because he was asking some questions. Rick answered it, but I was just like, maybe you could elaborate on it, what he was asking.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because we were talking about how the system is, and what was the question he was asking, Strick? I was trying to remember, man.
We were just talking about the special education system and how is it fair for the teacher to have to spend so much time with a child that may be more needy than another child in regards to receiving the information? I personally have a problem with it.
Me neither.
I think that's the way it should be. I don't think that kids that have special needs of education. Look, special needs education flows in so many different layers. You can be dyslexic, you can be slow learning. So many different factors. Every child learns a different way. I was a visual kid and hearing. I wasn't a very practice hands-on, but if you lecture to me, man, I can pick up anything. You know what I'm saying? But everybody's different. So I think that the need for special education, they should spend more money on special education. They should spend more money on trying to engage and find the needs that each child has to be able to establish whatever they have to do to obtain what they have to obtain. Because they have this textbook way of doing things, and the textbook way is not efficient, and it's antiquated. It's old.
You're absolutely 1,000% correct. And unfortunately, I don't think most people realize that the textbooks are made come from Texas. They go to all the schools within the United States.
Yes.
And the problem with that is when you have people like Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo back in the day who sort of matriculated into the educational system to make people become worker bees instead of learning how to be entrepreneurs and so forth and so on. They were determined to ensure that our kids were taught a certain way.
In a certain level.
Right. And when you look at special education and even some kids that are just in regular classrooms, each child, of course, learn differently. And at the end of the day, they don't really spend a lot of time with these districts in terms of understanding how each kid really learns at a different level. I'll give you a perfect example. Biology, my 10th grade year. I didn't understand none of that shit the first semester. I'm not even gonna lie to you. By the time the second semester came, I can tell you everything about the first semester and give it back to you raw. That's how long it took me. So what I found out was as I got older, not only was I dyslexic, but I was a visual learner. You understand what I'm saying?
Do I understand?
So it took me a long time because right before my parents put me in Catholic school, I was gonna have to repeat the second grade because I had problems with phonic sounds and stuff like that. And if you looked at the word curled, the way I saw it, it looked as curled, but of course it's curled. So every time I saw a different word, the way you pronounced it to me, it didn't register to me like that. So it took my parents years and years, and they were just trying to figure out. Well, they would get frustrated. But I say this to say this. In my own way, I had to find a way to teach myself even how to write in cursive, where it didn't look all scribble scrap. So, and the funny thing about it, one summer I had bought the handwriting books that you do cursive writing in.
Right.
I took I didn't go on vacation with my parents. I spent my time the whole summer practicing how to write in cursive.
You see that?
Okay. So right before I was going into the 10th grade, my dad was like, "Hey, is this who book is this?" I said, "That's mine." He was like, "Who handwriting is this?" I said, "That's mine." He said, "What?" He said, "You did all of this?" I had like 6 books just full of practicing curtain writing, A to B, doing the sentence, so forth and so on. So he ran upstairs. He's like, "Bonnie, look at this. You see what Rod did? You see what he did?" And from that point on, I knew within the back of my mind that I would have to do things not only for myself, but I would have to do it in a different way to where I can understand and be comfortable. Because at the end of the day, teachers don't teach, they give instruction.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the problem with most parents, they think the teacher is supposed to solve everything. No, they're not. They have a certain amount of time to teach X, Y, and Z for 2 to 3 weeks based on what the state guidelines say. And my sixth grade teacher, Miss Broussard, who I love to this day, she told each and every one, she said, you're going to learn anything, you're going to have to learn it outside this classroom. That's the only way you're going to make it. I'm not your teacher. I'm technically your teacher, but I'm actually only giving you instruction. And that has been my motto since the sixth grade, and I carry it to this day. Another perfect example. Sometimes it takes me 15 to 30 minutes to write a complete sentence because my mind is going so fast. I know what I want to say, but it does not come out right. I literally have to be somewhere quiet, no noise, in order for me to really write.
Wow.
You're right about that. You're right about the teachers. I can tell you that right now. They are in Texas. All they prepare for is the state exam.
State exam, exactly.
My wife's a principal at an elementary school, and she says that we're babysitting, or we're being basically behavior, because you got some kids in kindergarten acting bad enough to where they have I guess a hole they put on them, or they put them in a classroom where it's basically white wall padding. But these kindergartners coming, and the parents go, my kids ain't acting this way, but the kid come to school and trying to unscrew bolts with his hands and trying to find tools where he can try to break windows in that little room. Trust me, you're battling. Elementary kids are, I think, teachers. I don't know about middle school, high school. I know about elementary that you get an instruction to take that test, whatever grade level that is. That's what you're doing. You're not teaching anything. Some kids might get something out of it, some might not. But you're absolutely right, Sir Miguel. You got to learn on your own.
Sir Miguel, I have to say, you and I are in a very similar, in a very interesting category. That maybe the thing is that we had learning disabilities, but our parents were in a position or knowledgeable enough to know that we needed to be in a different environment for learning. You went to a Catholic school, which is not something that is very easy to do a lot of times. And I went to boarding school. What about those individuals that are subjected in areas of low tax, the schools where they don't have the equipment, the ability, and the parents that may not have the education or the wherewithal to believe that they need to do something different with their children because they think that everything is learned in the school. And they don't understand that everything the child needs to succeed is not learned in the school. Like you said, your teacher was an instructor. And she was wise enough to know that. Tell you that I'm an instructor. I'm a teacher, but I'm an instructor. I'm telling you what you need to know. My mom would say, if you learn how to read and write, son, you'll be able to succeed in anything you need. Read, write, and comprehend. If you can comprehend what you're learning, you can do so much. But there's certain things that you don't hear in our schools anymore because we're not there.
Correct.
Just to elaborate, I mean, just to something that you said that, and just speaking on that is like, when it came to math, I was very good at math, always great in math, but it was something, and I could read very well, but it was something about the difference between, how you had math and you had problems, but then you had word problems that would require math. It would seem like I don't know what it was about that, man. I would ace, from addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, algebra, everything.
Got into words, it was difficult.
Yeah, it was something like solving it in the words, and I don't know if because the way they twist the words around or what it was that's something that they were having.
But you needed a different direction to be able to be taught how to understand word problems.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why
I eventually got it,
Right.
Yeah, but that was like something that I thought was like, I was like, wow, man, like, you know, but like my key, I used to love like creative writing. I used to love English and math was two of my best subjects, but I didn't care for science and history. You know, that was two subjects that I really didn't care for. Some people loved history. I didn't. At that point, I didn't like history.
Science and history, not so much science. History, definitely. History,
Yeah, so that's what played a part in me when it came to that. So you know, so I get what you're saying as far as, you know, certain things, because, but then again, I went to a predominantly low rate, as you would say, a low rated school far as the tax bracket, even though my mom was making decent money, but it was the only school at that point where I would go to it. Remember I told you I went to Yates. So, you know what I mean? So it was an urban school. And now they're fighting right now in Houston due to that, because of HISD, the district is like they're not giving these kids all the you know, the equipment, as you stated, that, you know, what they need in order to further their education. You know what I'm saying? Because I know in certain schools, like it blew my mind when I was with my ex-wife that they was giving these kids laptops. I was like, what? You know, like laptops? But I know they wasn't doing that at HISD.
Well, no, they wouldn't.
You know, so you see those type of things and you be like, well, wait a minute, why they can't get the same? So you're trying to advance those. Like even they would try to recruit, like even with basketball players and football players, they would try to recruit these kids, because I remember back then it was a school called Lamar. Chris know what I'm talking about, Lamar High School.
Yeah.
They would try to get kids from like Third Ward, you know, Phil, all that. They would try to recruit these kids because they were more talented, you know, far as, you know, athleticism. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they would do. They would try to recruit you, and then, you know, you had to figure out a way to how to get your kid. Oh, we'll figure out a way. But why you couldn't do that when it came to the education? Why couldn't it be that when you giving them equipment that they need? But you'd rather go get our kids, but you don't want to give us what we need in order to have everybody to have a level ground to play with.
Well, as long as you play sports, they will. If you play
sports,
right. As long as you play sports, that's the one thing that I found problematic when I came down here. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the South. So those of you that say going back, I'm not. But the problem that I had was that I see that they valued sports more than they valued education for us.
Preach.
They spent so much money on these stadiums and so much money on these. Look, Westfield High School, where I'm zoned, my kids went to school at. When I went to that school, they got a football gym. You understand me? A football gym for just the football players. Whole top floor, Olympic-sized weight room, freaking unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Millions and millions of dollars they spend on this. It's a failing school system.
Wow.
Failing school system. But you spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on these football players. You know, and you got these pictures of the ones that come out and they made it to the NFL and this, that, and that. And that big old, I remember the big old meeting they had about football. I'm confused. What is more important, education or football or baseball or basketball? Enjoy sports. I say full-heartedly go for it. But what is more important? They literally put money into the sports for the kids, but they won't put the money into the books. They won't have a STEM system there. They won't have this, but they'll have football, and they'll spend $100 million on the football stadium. High school. You hear me? High school.
Not college level, but you say high school, right?
High school. $100 million for a football stadium in high school.
That's crazy.
They don't have a
Because
robotics.
what people come out to see money. They come to see sports.
Yeah, they don't have a robotics program, but they got an Olympic-sized weight room though.
Yeah, but that's the thing, you know, that they used to always say, you know, like my coach used to always tell us when I played ball, he said be an athlete student. He said be a student athlete, not an athlete student.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's where it is, because you got it. So you don't, not everybody, it's only a certain percentage that makes it to the NFL or NBA or even pro baseball or whatever the case may be. So you have to have something outside of that, because, you know, they would tell you, hey, use this to pay for your education. If you make it and you good enough, then you go to the league. But as far as that, but you have your education paid for.
You know what I'm saying? But a lot of times them cats, they would just push them, and like you said, as we said earlier, push them through. You know, why would you just push them through when you're not giving them the reality of what life is going to take care of? Because if you don't have now we have the more ability to do things with trade schools and everything else versus have to have a full 4-year education. You know what I'm saying, or whatever you decide to do. But that's what happened. You know what I'm saying? So
I think that's the worst thing you could do is push your child through school.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, I agree with that, man. Because I mean, what are they learning? You know what I'm saying? They're not learning anything.
And I have a question for the panel. Did my man that was speaking right before you, did you say that the schools spent more on the athletic departments than they did in the educational department?
Yeah, I'm saying that not in totality. I'm saying if you'll spend $100 million on football, why wouldn't you spend $100 million on a robotics program? You understand? I mean, you gear our children towards the physical side of things, but not the intellectual side. Not saying that those that are physical aren't intellectual. I'm just saying that why not put that money towards the ability to create and prosper educationally, or I mean, technically, you know, technologically, to be able to do something different other than just sports. Because look, 1,700 players in the NFL, man. There's 1,700 players in the NFL. They don't all make millions of dollars. And they all get hurt. But that's 1,700 out of how many millions of kids playing on the football field thinking they're going to make it to the NFL? You know? Wow. And how many of those kids don't make it because they get injured? I got one that's 17 that, hey, he got two what do you call it, concussions when he was in between his first year of high school. But now God knows what's going on in his brain because, hey, man, them hits are real. You know, and I'm not just talking about football. I'm just talking about, I am just talking about football specifically because it's just, I mean, hey, I know it's an enjoyable pastime for some people, but man, it's dangerous, bro. And it does so much damage to our kids. But nonetheless, you know, they don't do what they should do with the academic side. You know, I had the coach said, if you want your kids to go to college, you're going to have to listen to what I'm saying. I'm thinking to myself, man, what? You think that this is the only way for my kid to go to college? You know? No. He's got to be beaten, you know, and browbeaten. You know, get out of here. But that's what they do.
Is it fair enough to say that white schools spend more money on education?
No, it's fair to say that their tax bracket allows them to put more money into their system, and our tax bracket puts us in crap. And they maintain that by making sure that we don't have the tax bracket that allows us to pay the schools what they should be, put the money into it.
So how would we change that as being black parents?
Be more in the school system. Be more at the school. Be more into the school instead of just saying, okay, whatever passing your child by, be in the school, and then go to the school boards and be in a panel, try to get involved. That's the only way. And trust me, when my kids, we are in Cypress, Texas, so very diverse area. But we was in the school. I was in the school because my wife was, but I always wanted to do it because my mother was doing it. My mother was, I went to a predominantly black elementary, but when I went to middle school, it was white. My high school was white, but my mother was still involved. Being only, as my mama said, the black spot, she was there.
Being involved is part of it. You got to be involved.
You have to.
Involved, they're going to ignore your kid.
Oh, of course.
I walked into that school. They knew my name. Them people at the door, and Mrs. Strickland is here.
Well, see,
I second that. I was always at them schools. Always.
Yeah.
And that's even better. But, you know, when you put it out there, you know, black parents are not, the percentage of black parents are not participating in PTA meetings. You understand what I'm saying? And the question that I'm asking the panel is, what do you think we should do to get black parents more involved in PTA meetings? Because apparently, like my mom and dad, like you said, my mom and dad, whenever there was a PTA meeting, they were always there. Well, this generation, our generation of parents, they don't even go to PTA meetings. You know, so what I'm just asking as a panel, what would you think? What could we do to get these parents to start taking their behinds back to PTA meetings? That way, we know where our children are doing in school. You kind of understand what I'm saying? Or what I'm asking?
Have it more in the afternoon time. I think because some PTAs they have them. I think have them more in the afternoon to where when people get off of work they can go. But most people, as my wife would tell you, if you ain't having music or food, people ain't coming. You come for a project, they ain't gonna show up. Black, white, Hispanic, nobody gonna show up. Trust me. I've seen that at the school. How many people you got for the dance? Oh, we got all these people for the dance, but how many y'all got people for this? Oh, we ain't have but like 3.
Okay, so what you're saying?
You know, it's like
PTA meetings should have dance, music, and everything else going.
Just to bring them in, because you got to bring them in to get them in, and that's sad but true.
Well, yeah, no, I'm listening. Hey, I believe if that's it's sad. I mean, you know, I hear what you're saying. I don't never really thought of
trust
that.
me, I've been to some of these things and I go, where's everybody? They here for daddy and daughter dance. They here for the fun stuff, but they ain't here for the education stuff. That stuff that go to the waste. So that's what get on my nerve with a lot of us. We don't do that. I don't understand that.
I witnessed that firsthand working at the Moody Early Childhood Development Center in Galveston, Texas. I was a parent coordinator for the Early Childhood Development Program they had. And literally, people would not come unless you were offering food and this, that, and that. And this is, you know, I mean, it's an upscale place, but they would not come unless you were offering something for them. And I'm baffled. I was like, for real? Because this was my first experience being in the school environment where parents were not engaged. They no, just take them. They want you to babysit. That's it.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I've seen a situation. Do any of you gentlemen recall I think it was a case where the young black lady was a single mother and she she changed her address due to trying to get her kid a better education.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And she they put her. Did they put her in jail or
put her in prison?
Yeah, she in prison.
Yes.
Yeah.
She got 5 years. Something like that.
Yeah.
And that's not see. No, what's wrong with that? That's a major problem.
Mm-hmm.
So this woman wanted to get her child a better education, but she's in jail due to why? But then the college one.
Yo.
See, if you think about it, when you think about schools, they're zoned just like the Democratic and the Republicans when it comes to zoning for them to get their votes, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. It's the same thing. So if I want to go across town, I have to put in all this paperwork to see if I'll get approved to go to this other school. And one thing I learned when I was a school teacher, and I would sit in on some PTA meetings. I would sit in on some school board meetings. I learned when I was a school teacher. And a lot of the people that sit up there are mostly some PTA meetings, white men, white women. I learned when I was a school teacher. And they have to follow the guidelines.
Hold on, brother Miguel. Hey, Michael, could you get Pam to close one of the windows on there or something? Because I think it's echoing. Or they just mute it right quick, and then that way, because it's echoing right now. I'm sorry, brother Miguel. Go ahead, brother.
So they have to follow all these different guidelines and so forth and so on. I think one of the biggest things that is happening is, like Strick said earlier, you know, it comes down to the money.
Yeah, it does.
Because if you think about it, they'll say this school is a bad school. Well, it's bad because you're basing it off test scores.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When in fact, there's so much money allocated at the top first. So whatever's left, it goes to the as we say, the hood schools or whatever the case may be. So if you look across one town, this school is not really painted so well. but the school over 5 blocks away is painted very well because it's in an affluent area, whatever the case may be. And let me use this as an example. The school I went to was the colors were black, red, and white. The gang members wore red colors, right? The school in Compton that I used to live in, the school was painted blue and white, and the Crips wore blue. So if you look in every black neighborhood, most of the schools are painted based on the gang area that it's in. This is no lie.
Wow.
So what I did was I took my daughter and I said, I want you to look at every one of these schools. We was just driving around. I said, look at the school colors and look at this map, and it's going to show you what gang belong in this area.
Wow. That's crazy.
So the psychology of it, not only that comes along with it, it's a bad representation of who people really are. Because at the end of the day, most parents now are trying to be their children's friend.
Oh my God, we just talked about that. Oh Jesus.
Right?
Oh Jesus. That's what we were talking about earlier, Brother Miguel. I swear, bro.
And what happens is the child looks at the parent as, I'm the parent, you're the child, so guess what? You're going to do what I say. If I don't get what I want, then it becomes this big old blah, 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 words and exchange, so forth and so on.
Who puts that in place? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And I think what happens is parents nowadays are trying to give their kids more than what they had when they were a child. Right? And then on top of that, you don't have any male role models. You don't have a lot of male role models to sort of intervene or set the stage or set the tone, even for the male child. So that's another issue. Then they're fighting with their peers. So the mother is hanging out with the daughter, who's the older daughter, acting like she's 21, but she's 45. So the youngest children seeing that too.
And they buddies now.
Yeah, so it's a plethora of things that go into it, from the education, psychological, the relationship, how you talk, how you communicate, and how are you setting the stage, and what standards have you set, and what boundaries have you set in order for these children to make it. Because if you're going to be loose goose about it, you're going to get loose goose attitudes and loose goose in terms of education at the end of the day. My kids will tell you, they used to hate to see me coming to the school. I didn't come to the school when they was doing bad. I would just go up there just to show up. Because I wanted to know. I wanted to say, hey, how's my child doing? Talk to the counselor, whatever the case may be. If I'm out of town, I'm calling, hey, what's going on? Because at the end of the day, I don't want it to become, oh, my dad wasn't there, or my mother wasn't there. They didn't do this, they didn't do that. So when you turn 18, whatever you did, don't put it on, whatever you didn't do, don't put it on me because I was there. That's on you. And I tell my kids, there are no excuses. When you start making excuses, that's when you lose. And too many parents, not all, but too many parents of the day are making too many excuses to be involved in their children's education, to involve their children's mental health, to involve their children's financial literacy, and so forth and so on.
We do the best we can, but we got to do it. Got to do it. I had 2 kids that I raised when they were 10 and 8. And I was adamant about school with these 2. Now, my son, when he graduated from high school, he literally, his last year, he didn't have to go to school because he had been taking AP classes from the time I got custody of him when they were elementary school, the junior high school, the high school. So he'd been taking all his classes. He was so to the point where he could have signed out his first day of senior year. He could have signed out, and that'd have been it. And he just showed up at graduation because I had been on him. Now, what you do after that? He had taken every course he needed to take. He was college prepared. Now, if you don't do it, that's your business. But you've been given the opportunity and the tools are here. Tools are here.
Yeah, man. That makes a major difference. But yeah, I just thought that was when I brought that up, man. I just thought that was something that I that still bothers me to this day, man. That young lady had to go to prison due to trying to get her kid a better education. That's horrible. That's horrible.
And,
But
Brother Shaq, let me add this. And see, the thing of it is, now think about what state that was in. That was in Georgia, right?
correct.
What's unfortunate is these people make these laws just to do that. So now here it is, this woman is going to miss out on her kids' child rearing years and so forth in terms of education. But you can give her 5 years for that. But a brother across town is selling fentanyl to these kids, and he gets 3 years or whatever the case may be, or get probation. Explain that to me.
It doesn't make sense, as you say.
That's what that is in Texas. It's the 5 to 99 rule. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because in most cases their charge is 5 to 99 years.
Mm-hmm.
This person 5, but this person over here, he gonna get 99. Same
Mm-hmm.
price. Same price.
That is crazy, man. And you know, and then what about? Now I don't know the story in depth, but wasn't it someone with the college lady did something where she was the white lady or something? She did something for as the body, huh?
You talking about the test scores and stuff like that?
Yeah, wasn't it in college, right? Wasn't it a college?
Yeah, yeah, SC.
Yeah, right. So I'm saying, so we know what the difference was, but it's just that's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you get this girl 5 years, like you said, losing out on her kid's education. She can't, and all she was trying to do is get her kid a better education. Because when she was stating what you were saying, she probably was in a urban area or didn't have the resources to you know that her kid needed, and that was horrible, man. That was horrible. That don't make sense, man. It just don't make no sense to me, man. But you know, but I mean, it's today's society, man. It is what it is, man. But like I said, but I'm with Michael. You know, what do we do? How do we fight that? You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Because I think, you know, you had all these marching groups and all that stuff, but why you didn't march for that young lady? You know what I'm saying? That young lady tried to just do something. She didn't commit a crime. You know what I mean? That's horrible, man. I mean, you know,
but you got to look at it from the other point side too. Now, let's say hypothetically speaking, that woman with those kids, she wasn't doing nothing for them kids to go to school. Every time the truancy officer come to the house, if the mama was smoking weed and stuff, and she wasn't making no attempt to take them to school. Well, I personally, that could probably be the reason why they gave her 5 years.
I don't know. I didn't know the in depths of that case either. You know what I'm saying? But I just know that I saw it. So I mean, Sir Miguel, do you know the in depths of it or?
No, I don't know the in depths of it. I would have to look at it. But even at that, it didn't deserve 5 years.
Nah, not for that.
You know what I mean? Because.
Well, okay. Well, you're a parent that was always at the school with your children. How long do you think is enough time for her then? I'm just curious. What would you think?
She shouldn't have got no jail time at all.
No jail time at all?
No, not at all.
No.
I have to disagree with you on that one, brother, because
that's fine. No problem.
Okay,
no, we're here to disagree.
Well, I disagree with
you. No. What I'm saying is, I mean, I don't have a problem with his opinion, because at the end of the day, there's a lot worse going on versus somebody trying to change schools.
Right. Yeah. No, well, I understand, but but I'm saying there's certain laws put in positions. Either you go to school, or it's either or.
But here's the thing too. Now you said either or, right?
Right.
It's no different than the people who cheated with the test scores out here in LA. Mm-hmm. Those people only went to jail for a couple of months and paid a fine.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's it.
But they
right.
And they did have to pay a fine. So what you're saying is the girl. What are you saying then? The girl should have got less. She shouldn't get. She get some time. Or
no,
she shouldn't have got no time.
No time. I would agree.
None, because the thing of it is, these people were wealthy white folk who actually could have paid for their daughter to actually go to school. They were millionaires, but they're cheating on the SATs and ACT tests.
So they should have gotten time.
Right?
Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying, if you look at the difference, she gets 5, they only get a couple of months.
Which is a slap
All
on the
she-
wrist in my
It's a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Again,
Okay,
that's a slap on the wrist.
even though the white
5 to 99 rules.
even though the white couple got time and the sister got time, is it fair enough to say that they both was wrong? For
Wrong, maybe, but you're talking about jail time now. I mean, being wrong.
jail just
Yeah.
jail
No,
time.
to me, I don't agree with the hustle of I mean, I agree with the hustle, but if you get caught, you get caught. But
Right.
I don't think you should get 5 years for getting caught. I don't think you should get any time. For
No.
It's-
from one school
You,
to
you know what I'm saying? In that regard, because it's like, really?
Well,
And
you
then
know,
here's the thing, just like somebody said earlier,
a black-
nobody spoke up for the woman in Georgia on her behalf. But guess what? The people out here, they didn't march, but they were silently protesting that they shouldn't even go to jail.
See,
You see what I'm saying?
right.
But that's the difference between how white folks do things and perceive things versus black people.
There you go. Now I agree with that 100%.
Well, see, here goes the thing. The thing of it is I remember, and I was just speaking about it earlier. So they will recruit. So it's okay for them to recruit a child from a different district for athletics, but it's not okay for a woman to try to go over here and get her kids a better education at the same time. Well, so what? Her child wasn't athletic. But that child is trying to get a better education because they want to have computers to bring home. They want to have certain programs that they can better benefit them and get them to the next level of getting them ready for college. But then the urban schools and the other schools of that nature is not getting these type of things. So that means they'd be good if they can get in community college.
Look here, man. As far as it is, as the system goes, they'll sacrifice 1 million students for 1,700 that can play in the NFL, brother.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? They will sacrifice 1 million brains to get 1,700 physically capable individuals. You understand? They can care less about the million.
Yeah, I get it, but I'm just saying it's horrible, man. It's just like you really look at it and you be like I said, I'm with Sir Miguel on that. I'm with you guys, man. That young lady shouldn't have got no time. You know what I'm saying? Is the point about it is you send her back to homeschool and college. Because I remember years ago, many kids would go use this address in order, and like you said, streak again. She didn't get caught.
They're still doing it.
But they wouldn't even doing it in depth. They wouldn't giving nobody no jail time for that.
Man, look, I went to Orange High School. I lived in East Orange. I don't know nothing about what they talking about. My address was 314 Oakwood. That's what it was. That's not where I lived, but that's what it was.
Right. But I'm just saying. But
Who didn't do that, bro? Who didn't do that? So for 5 years?
Right, that's what I'm saying, for 5 years. So that's the point I'm making, man. I don't. The young lady, like I said, you send that child back to his home school and you call it a day. Really a crime? What crime was really broken?
Nothing.
But see, Brother Shaq, that just goes to show you the person who sit up in these lawmaking capacities. This is the stuff they think about to bring up this type of law, so somebody can be criminalized for it and go to prison, right? Now, in California, like what they have now is if you miss so many days per year, the parent can actually be arrested and go to jail.
Yeah, in Texas too.
I heard.
Right?
I heard about yeah.
And I'm sitting there saying to myself, so y'all take all of that, the parents go to prison, go to jail, but they kid missing school. So basically, you making money off the parent because they're going to pay a fine and all this other kind of stuff. Interesting.
Crazy, man. That's what I'm
So,
saying. It's just, wow.
but see, if you really think about it, that's another avenue for them to keep the jails and prisons full off of something that's not really that major, but yet you can't stop the drugs from coming in. Well, when they do come in,
I'm not trying to stop drugs, man.
it's petty.
Yeah, but they're not
I
trying
get
to stop drugs.
that's my point. It's school to prison pipeline. That's basically what it is, and then the parents get stuck in the middle of it. Because if you're for example, you dropping your kid off at school every day, and you thinking they in class, they can easily ditch. It's easy. They can easily skip class.
Of course.
But you're gonna get that recording saying, "Oh, your child missed this period," or whatever the case may be.
Man, that's crazy, man. Look, man. That's what I said. But the things that need to be addressed are not addressed. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, I think lately we've been having these. I mean, when you go as far as elementaries, man, to go and take kids' lives, man, what's the problem? There's a major problem with that. You know what I'm saying? Like school shootings. These are babies, man. High school, middle school, even college, they're still young. You know, I mean, you come to people walking in these schools and just taking these children's lives, man. They ain't lived.
That doesn't make sense, especially when we have those metal detectors and stuff for guns. My opinion, all those schools should have one way in and one way out, and all doors have securities. That doesn't make sense.
Well, see,
especially if you can't get on an airplane without being searched. All school, if you care, if society cared that much about their children, and they know these fools is running around here with guns and stuff like that, every school would be locked down like that.
But you know what? They talked about that movie Lean on Me. They talked about that movie.
Yeah.
But they really talked about that movie. You know how
I went to school in Jersey. I wrestled against Irvington High School when Joe Clark was there. I'm telling you, that was and our mentor from my school during that time, that same year, it was the same situation going on. Man, look, our mentor did the same thing, talking about he put everybody inside in the gym. And he said, if I mention y'all names, y'all not graduating, y'all need to leave. But
wow.
But they locked doors. He locked doors. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. So you just leave everything wide open. So that means your children, you don't know if thank God you have to pray for your children, even though you pray for them anyway. But the point of, they're going to school, you think they get their education, all of a sudden you hear the school shooting. I mean, who wouldn't freak out?
So whose fault is that?
You're not going to ever stop that. It's never
the school.
The school board.
It's never going to stop.
So
thank you. Now it's not.
The bottom line is, apparently, parents are not caring enough for their children not to push that enough, push it far long enough to say we demand stuff on the door.
That's not it. It's just
not it.
You cannot control. Look, the population of the United States, 300 million, roughly.
You got the right.
We have 600 million guns almost. Okay. Listen, you are not going to stop crazy people from doing crazy things. We've had 68 gun shootings in a 30-day period, and it hadn't even, the year hasn't even been yet. So we're not going to stop that. We're not going to stop that. We can do as much as we can to protect the children, get security systems. I think all of that should be in place. There should be one way in, one way out. I believe in that as well, but I also believe there should be access. They have to spend the money, and they won't spend the money. The tax dollars, how schools are funded through the property tax, school taxes, is not going to allow them to put the security system in the school the way it needs to. So it has to come from the feds, and it has to be a standard. It has to be a standard where you do have one way in, one way out in case of emergencies, where you have an access point where you can open everything up. There are different factors you can do, but the problem is that they're not going to spend the money. It's not going to.
And what's so sad about that too is, and when you think about Columbine and all the other kind of stuff, right? You would have thought that the federal government would have jumped in and helped the states do whatever the case may be to
No, the
have
gun
some
violence is not that.
right. So overall, it's like you got the states you're fighting against, you got the federal government you're fighting against because it's its own entity, because it's a business and it's a corporation. At the end of the day, do they really care about school safety?
Now, if you give me
No.
$100,000 towards my campaign,
Exactly. Exactly.
And see, you don't hear about a lot of
Mhm.
kids getting shot on the outside of the school. It's always a fool going up in the school, killing up the kids. You understand what I'm saying? And it's sad, man. I think we'd be better off with the security, having a child with more security inside the school than just walking out, because it doesn't happen usually. Kids don't usually get shot walking around outside. You know what I mean? They usually get caught like in the lunchroom or the classroom stuff. You know, that's the way I don't.
I agree with you there.
Look at the little boy in Virginia.
That's what I
They
was going to
said
talk
they
about.
searched. They said they searched him before he came to school and before he even went into the school doors.
Right.
But he
Wait a minute.
still had a gun on him.
Yeah, well, see, if they had a metal detector, they'd have caught that.
why you have? I mean,
But that goes to show you there was something wrong with that child. And then guess what? When they interviewed him, he said he would do it again.
Well, good. They need to put us behind somewhere where he'll never get a chance to do that again.
He's six.
6.
6 years old.
Hey, can I say something? I gotta say this. Look, man, I know a 9-year-old boy that stole a gun from somebody and pulled the trigger at another person across the street because he liked the little girl. He didn't even know what he was doing. You understand? He was 9 years old. If that gun was loaded, he'd have killed that little girl. He was 9. This boy was 6. Now, granted, different world, different time, because I ain't 9 no more. You understand? Listen, 6 years old. That boy don't know what he's doing, man.
No, he doesn't.
And whatever's in his head right now, whatever was around him put it in his head, because he still don't know what he is. You know? So I had a real problem when I found out that they were that he was incarcerated. It's like, we got him in custody. You got this 6-year-old boy. 6-year-old, he didn't know. He just figured out how to wipe his ass 2 years ago.
So you can't punish a child if they don't know.
How can you punish that child?
You can't. All you can do is rehabilitating to where so he doesn't do it again.
Yeah.
Well, would you punish the parents?
Now, I'm not saying you can't punish the parents for them having access.
I agree with you on that one.
But the access.
Mind you, it's coming because keep in mind, anything your child do under 18 years of age, you're responsible.
Yeah,
they're gonna hold you responsible.
Civilly responsible. You're civilly responsible to a certain extent. Criminally, it would be criminally negligence. It would be involuntary manslaughter, probably. But criminal negligent homicide or whatever it may be the case, that assault in itself, I don't know if they'll be charged. It'll be a felony charge. It's just a sticky situation. The kid is the issue. That you cannot tell me that you can justify giving a 6-year-old an attempted murder charge. You understand?
Well, that child needs to be evaluated, because apparently, if a child can just go and get a gun from his mom and daddy's drawer and stuff like that,
I'm not saying that they're
pretty
right.
Smart to me.
I'm not saying they're right. In that sense. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, bro, Mike.
Oh no, I was just saying, a child that goes into their mom and daddy's drawer and take a gun out. Apparently, they have to know some things to just do something like that. Because I'm pretty sure every parent that does have a gun in their house, they usually give their kids heads up. You better not touch this gun. You see this right? You better not touch it. You understand what I'm saying? So percentage of a child, usually when a child goes and does something like that, I'm pretty sure they've already had heads up not to do that. They go in there and do that, they're being bad. You understand what I'm saying? So,
Mhm.
you know,
Right.
I
So
can't.
what do we do with bad kids though?
That's when you have to evaluate them. If they did that not knowingly, you can't punish them for that. That's just like it says in the Bible. A person that's crazy, you can't punish a person if they're crazy. You can't, you know, you can't do that. I mean, you just can't do that. You know, I don't know why that is. But that's what it says in the
Because
Bible.
mental capacity, your mental capacity is diminished.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
That child is, you know, like if that child is a bad child, he needs to be dealt with accordingly.
yeah,
But if a child is doing that,
6-year-old and bad, this doesn't compute.
But you know, there's a lot of teenagers that walk around be shooting up and killing up people, and they don't have value of life. They don't know nothing about death. You know, once you're gone, you're gone. Usually, children don't even think of stuff like that. You know, they just think of the gun just going off. You know what I mean?
I have a question for probably Sir Miguel, because he did it, you know, him and Strick basically. So what do you feel about now? Now I understand that point of you know that we were speaking on, but far as a child, okay, like say for instance, you know, you teach your children at a young age if an intruder comes in the house, do you, far as teaching them how to handle a gun, or do you just you know, if somebody breaking the house, just go hide and do whatever, or how would you address that? Between you guys, y'all being in law enforcement, you know, far as the criminal system, you know, you know what I'm talking about.
I'll say this, and it's funny you brought that up because I was talking to a friend of mine not too long ago, and I was telling him that I personally feel like I need to learn how to shoot a gun. Go to the driving range, practice. Honestly, I mean the gun range. I'm sorry.
Did not go there with that
because I think the times that we're in, a lot of times you making hide this, that, and the third in the house, but these cats are getting so bold nowadays. They turning over everything, from closets to beds, the whole 9 yards. I would want to teach my children both.
Okay.
Hide with the gun. If they open that door, let it go.
Right. How about you, Strick?
Look, I agree to a certain extent. The reality for me is that I work with police officers that didn't need to be carrying guns. I don't think everybody should carry a gun personally. I know some people that, you know, just are incapable of being able to inflict that kind of harm. To have shot somebody it's a heavy thing. And if a kid is put in that position, of course you want them to defend themselves. So I can agree with that. But then every kid in my house should not have the ability to hold a gun. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, no, true.
I agree with that.
So, because there are people that I know, like I said, that were police officers that had no business being police officers. And they damn sure they had no business carrying a gun. But right. So
I agree with that.
So, but I'm a firm believer that yes, they should be able to defend themselves. But you know, everybody's got to evaluate that situation for themselves. And this is an environment and a climate where you should feel like you should be able to do so if you need to. Like Sir Miguel said, he felt like he should know how to. Yeah, I agree with you. You should. And you should take the proper steps, because the thing is that if you felt the need to do that, then you shouldn't even second guess yourself. Get the proper training, do it. This society where, you know, it may be a point in time where you have to defend yourself in the supermarket, in the movie theater, or in a school, or wherever. You don't know.
Walking.
I was at our house.
So what you're telling me is, you would take your child to the gun range to teach him how to shoot a gun in case an intruder did come in the house. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
I'm saying.
Okay. All right. Well, let me ask you a question. Hypothetically speaking, let's say like that your child You take your child to the gun range and you teach them how to shoot a gun. Now, this same child takes that gun and goes across the street, and like that scenario you was telling about how that child went across the street and
pull the trigger. Hello,
Mike.
so you show me how to.
You're breaking up real bad, Mike. You're breaking. Okay, there you go. Now we can hear you. Yeah,
what you say? What I was telling you about the kid that pulled the trigger about with the little
right,
girl.
Well, we can say child in general, kids that do that, to go across the street.
Well,
and
I can tell you exactly, Mike, because that 9-year-old that I was talking about was me. Okay. Look, every child, I'm not saying I'm gonna teach every child of mine to carry a gun, like it's like what I was just saying. Every individual should not. That's a decision you have to make as an adult, knowing your child. And if your child does do something to that extreme, then you should be held responsible for that action.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And that's where the negligent homicide or the involuntary manslaughter comes into effect, depending on the category of the offense that the child is taking. But I feel like you should be able to evaluate like I said, I got 5. And all 5 of them shouldn't hold guns, okay? Probably maybe 1, and that's the soldier.
So you're saying, so basically evaluate their mental capacity. Is that what you're saying?
And you take responsibility for that. If you're giving them a gun, you better.
Well, I'm just thinking on like a young people, like 15, 14, whatever.
Well, 15, 14. I mean, if you can trust them to that extent, or you better build a lockbox in your house, or you better move if it's gonna get that heavy.
Are y'all talking about this generation or the past generation? Because my family, we grew up in the country. My family, them had guns laying around, hanging up. Nobody picked a gun up and shot anybody.
You didn't grow up with Grand Theft Auto.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, I grew up with guns, and my mother was a gun enthusiast, and I grew up with guns, all that. But I never wanted to take the gun to school. Didn't want to go shoot nobody, or nothing like that. If I went out to fight, I fought you with my hand.
Again,
but I never thought about that.
Man, I used to.
But I didn't grow up with violent video game and violence like it is now. But this generation, my wife collects switchblades, fake guns, all this stuff, and I'm like, because that's what they see and they play, and they act it out, or they say it, or they write it down. They write exactly what the person said on the whatever that is, that Grand Theft Auto. They write down on the paragraph, better they can write what they learned. So why wouldn't they go get a gun and shoot exactly what they saw on Grand Theft Auto?
But you know what? The reason the reason that I brought that particular subject up, because the reason I asked that question is because going back to when you said that the child is going to grab a gun and shoot. Okay, at that moment you might feel that your child is mental capacity is above. Like, okay, well, I know they're responsible, whatever. But then now that we realize that the times that we're in now, as far as the you would say people becoming, this bullying thing. You know what I mean? Just like the young black boy, I think he was in Florida. He was in Texas. I actually remember the young black boy, he was getting bullied and he came back and shot a few kids at school. You know what I'm saying? Due to bullying. I don't know if it was because he was mixed or he was whatever the case may be. I don't know I don't know the background of that whole story, but I was just saying that, I mean, I guess you can't pick and choose at a certain extent, but it becomes a problem because of the kids, of course, video games and all this other stuff. And, they get mad that because it comes back. And then I guess you're right. I would feel that the parents should be held accountable, because some kids, they teach them, like he said, but Chris said that they were, guns were laying around and you were in the country. You were taught how to shoot a rifle or whatever the case may be. But he know not to go out there and touch it and do it to use it to harm someone else. But I mean, I guess it's a damn, kind of damn if you do, damn if you don't type situation, because you want them to protect themselves because you don't want no harm to come upon them. But you're not telling them to go out there and harm others either with the firearm.
So I guess I don't know how that would play out in both aspects. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? Because if you do give them or teach them to the range or whatever, like I saw a gentleman that they had, I think it was a reel or something on Facebook or maybe on Instagram, that he was teaching his young daughters. They had fully armored, I think they were AR-15s or something, and teaching them how to shoot. And said, all my kids need to know how to shoot. And they had a picture with all him, his wife, and his two girls all had ARs on.
Do they know how to shoot or do they know how to hunt? Is it different?
No, he said that was a form of protection. He taught them how to protect themselves.
Yeah. I mean,
but I'm sitting there like, you know, I can't say I can't agree with it because that's his parenting. That's what he feels. But I mean, that would be kind of scary if you know your daughter becomes a marksman. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that, and she gets upset or whatever the case may be. I don't know, you know.
Wait a minute.
There again,
my daughter's a marksman.
Huh?
My daughter's a marksman. What you trying to say? That's scary now. Now you make me look.
Oh well. Well, hold up. Besides that point, we ain't talking about that. We ain't talking about scenario.
Okay.
Well, I got a question. I got a question. Okay, you say your daughter's a marksman. Let's say, like, if you weren't at home and she heard somebody coming in, would you give her the authority to shoot whoever that is coming to the window if you're not there?
If I wasn't home and somebody came into my house and my daughter was here, I would pray for them.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I would pray for them. And that's if she didn't have a gun.
Okay.
I would pray for them.
Well, she in the military too, though, Michael.
Before she was in the military,
no, I thought we were still talking about children.
Yeah. Oh no, she's grown now. She's grown. But you know what? To be honest with you, no. To be honest, now, Shaq, now I can reflect back. I remember when my child was in school and was being threatened and bullied, and I had a rule. You know, you can't fight in school because of the CEP and the things that I know and been experienced. If you have a problem in school, you tell me and I'll deal with it. And she did. She came and told me that these girls were planning on jumping. You know, she had a feeling it was going to happen. I went to the school and I told the counselor, I said, listen, my daughter can fight because I taught my daughter how to fight. I taught her how to defend herself on a mat in my garage, wrestling, fighting, you know, kicking, punching. That's because that's what I do. And I explained to the counselor, I said, listen, these are the girls that are having a problem with my daughter. And I'm telling you got to deal with these girls because if you don't, I guarantee you, they're going to try and jump my daughter. And that's when my daughter can defend herself. And when she does, she's going to hurt one of them. And I'm telling you, she's going to. Oh, Mr. Strickland, don't say that. No, you got to understand. I'm telling you.
She's supposed to.
She's going to hurt one of them. You know? So you need to handle this. And that was it. Because it's good.
And Strick, you know what?
And she walked in right now. I was just talking about her. She walked in. You see that? I was like, you need to handle this because she's capable. And that's when I did. So in a sense, what you're saying, it wasn't with a gun, but you know, it's like, I want you to be able to defend yourself. Definitely.
Absolutely.
You know, I would agree. Yeah.
But, you know, some of them little girls will scar up your child, man, your little girl.
Yeah. They had a hard time with that one.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? And that's the sad part about these schools. They don't really realize that some of these kids come to school to fight and hurt people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And every person has a right to defend themselves. Because if a person continues to bully somebody and then the person is being bullied, one day go snap. They can either use their hands or gun or whatever the case may be. And some of these principals, some of these administrators need to understand a child or a human being is only going to take so much.
Right.
At some point, if I'm coming to tell you that this person keep bothering me, and you may suspend them for a day or this, that, and the third, but they still come doing the same thing, eventually your mind gonna snap at some given point. The reality of it is you have to keep it real. Look, just like Strick said, I'm telling you, if y'all don't do something and they jump her, this is what's gonna happen.
Right. There's gonna be some repercussions. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because my daughter had this. My daughter was in a similar situation, and this child was her best friend. But for some strange reason, this young lady all of a sudden turned on her, threatening her, all kinds of stuff. And at the time, I was in Texas, so I ended up coming home one week, and she didn't know I was coming home. And I went to the school and I said, let me explain something to you. If this young lady keep making threats and all this other kind of stuff, be prepared for what's gonna happen.
Right.
That's all I'm gonna tell you.
I'm surprised they didn't try to take that as a threat.
Oh, they did. They did. They end up telling the school police and all those other people and I said it to them in their face. Guess what? If you don't deal with it, it's gonna be a problem.
Right. Yeah, that's
not only with her, but it's gonna be a problem with me.
Right. Because when I get involved, it's gonna be a different ball game. Right. I got you.
You see what I'm saying? And the sad part about it was this young lady was 15, but hanging around 21, 22-year-old female gangbangers. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh,
so I already knew the play. And like I told him, I don't care.
Right.
What y'all need to do is fix it, because if you're not gonna fix it, and if she catches the girl one-on-one, I'm gonna feel sorry for her. If her parents get involved, then that's when I'm gonna step up. And if y'all want to take it a little further, then I'm gonna go further too.
Right. You know, I think the resolution of that, I think it need to be addressed right then and there. You can't blow it off or just feel that, or basically take your word for as a threat, but not understanding that there's a lot of things that come behind this. You know what I mean? And they don't understand that. And that's horrible, man. That's horrible. And it's bad to say, like I said, I wonder where some of these, like I said, and I'm still stuck on these school shootings. I mean, you don't know that, like they was talking about the young man, I think with the elementary, I believe that they said that they had addressed something a few weeks or a year prior or something like that about the young man, and they, I guess they took it for granted and see what happened. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? When somebody, like you, I think everybody on here was taught that if you take every threat serious. You know what I'm saying? Every threat serious. I don't, my dad used to always tell me, he said, son, somebody threaten you, you take every threat serious. Don't say, oh, he ain't gonna do no, she ain't gonna do nothing. No, take it serious. And I have always been like that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's something that I think the resolution of that, man, is addressing it right when it happens, because it probably could have saved a lot of lives when you start looking, especially in school. Well, really, a lot of these mass shootings that's happening right now. You know what I mean? I think they start, and the signs were there, but if you start addressing it right then and there, maybe, it could have saved a lot of lives. You know what I'm saying? So that's crazy, man. That's crazy, man. But you know what, man? Y'all, man, I really appreciate this, man. My wife went to where I was supposed to go to work with, but we got so good in this conversation. I was like, I come there in a minute. Just let me look. I'm finishing this conversation because it was great, man. But I definitely want to appreciate everybody coming on. Y'all holding it down, man. Sir Miguel, I appreciate you again, brother, for gracing us with your presence, bro. Because you definitely always bring it, man, when you come in here, man. And we love to hear that, man. Like I said, I had to tell you because I knew we were having a part of a subject, one of yours, even though that you have a wide range of subjects that you can talk about, but we know that when it comes to the educational system, I know that was something that that we spoke about in the past. So so I appreciate you, brother. I really do, man. I really truly do, and I appreciate you when you come on, man. Brother Michael, I appreciate you coming up on the panel, brother, and sharing your outlook on things, man, and having this discussion. It was a pleasure for you to come up again, brother. And I hope you enjoyed it, bro. I really do. And Brother Strick, it's always a pleasure, my big brother. I always appreciate you too. Well, hell, I gotta say Miguel, my big brother too, man. So you know what I mean. So I'm the youngster in this thing right here. Besides Lil D, D and Chris, but otherwise everybody else, got me by a little couple. We just all seasoned. That's all, man. That's all. But yeah, definitely, man. Hey, I appreciate you again, man. Hey, brother Miguel. Look, I told Michael, when we end these things, man, we always end it with it, man. I don't know if you just feel like Grayson's with a prayer, bro, so we can end this off, man.
Sure. Again, brothers, Brother Shaq, I appreciate you having me on. Brother Strick, I appreciate you. Mike, I appreciate you coming up, man. And I'm just learning from everyone, man, and just understanding where we need to be as men and where we need to be as fathers. So I appreciate each and every one of y'all. With that being said, dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to be above ground one more day. We thank you for your mercy and your grace, Heavenly Father. And I thank you for the men on the panel. I thank you for the men and women in the chat. But more importantly, Heavenly Father, allow us to continue to stay in your word and to trust you, and to not only trust you, but be able to live by your words that you have bestowed upon us. But more importantly, Heavenly Father, allow us to understand one another without strife, without anger, but with love and peace and joy. Heavenly Father, we just thank you right now, Heavenly Father, once again for another day, for breathing the breath of life in us. And as you allow us to rise this morning, may you allow us to rise tomorrow, so that we may make a difference not only in our lives, but in somebody else's life. And thank you for panels such as this, Heavenly Father, and for continued growth. But more importantly, Heavenly Father, we thank you for your Son who died on the cross for us, for our sins, Heavenly Father. And we just thank you for your mercy and your grace, your love, and being slow to anger. We just thank you right now, Heavenly Father, for men such as Brother Shaq, Mike, D, Strick, Chris, and whoever else that I may have missed that come along on the panel, Heavenly Father. But I ask you to watch over them from the crown of their heads to the soles of their feet. That includes the people in the chat, Heavenly Father. And watch over their children, their nieces, their wives, girlfriends, whoever it is that may be in their life. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for them. Thank you for your mercy and your grace. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Oh, good prayer. Good prayer. Amen.
Amen, brother. I appreciate you, man. Hey, man, like I said, I want to thank y'all again, man. We want to keep doing this. Sir Miguel, like I said, man, anytime I'm on, brother, you are always welcome on our panel, brother. Because you always bring something positive and always bring some educating us on a lot of things, brother.
Yes,
And Brother Strick and Brother Mike, like I said, man, this is what we do, brother. He new to the panel. He new to the panel. That's Frank and Johnny, his husband, Brother Miguel. So we definitely want to share them. They're telling me we do nothing but positive things over here, man, and sharing a lot of light on a lot of things. So we appreciate that we can get on here, man, and fellowship with each other, man, and talk about different things and bring up different views, man, because I guarantee you I'm always learning something as I leave this panel every single time, man. So I appreciate you once again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So I appreciate y'all. Hey, man, y'all have a great night. Great rest of the week, man. And everybody, man, if you're moving, if you grooving, whatever, man, hey, travel in grace. You know what I mean? And we definitely want to appreciate y'all, man. So God bless everybody, man. And until next time.
Till next time. Peace and blessings.
All right, you too, brother.